Hello everybody, I'm Lewis, also known as Skeffles, and welcome to my 11th devlog for my tower defense game, Project Torrim. Last week I continued work on tile placement for the level editor, allowing the user to layer different size grids together in order to add decorations to a level. At the end of the week I decided that the level editor needed a more practical user interface because the one I had was pretty awful. So I drew out what I wanted, and this week I'm going to start implementing it. Here is the design I'm going to implement. From the top left, there are going to be file management buttons, allowing the user to create a new level, save their current level, and load their previous level. Just to the right of that will be the grid control options, allowing the user to choose what layer they're on and resize that layer. In the middle of the screen will be the level layout itself, which contains a grid that tiles get placed on. And at the bottom of the screen is the tile selection area, which will list all of the available tiles and allow the user to select a tile to be placed onto the level layout. When this UI has been properly implemented, it should fix some of the issues I had with the level editor last week and will hopefully feel much nicer to use. Having this feel nice will be key because I'm interested in including the level editor so players can make their own levels. What do you think of this? Let me know if you're interested in making your own tower defense levels in the comments below. I'm hoping most of this work will be pretty straightforward. Perhaps the tile selection task will be a little trickier because I want to include a scroll bar to look through all of the possible tiles, which will be key later in development when I have a lot of tiles. I don't currently have a scroll bar, so let's start with that. Okay, so I've created a scrollable object that all the tile selection buttons are attached to. This object is controlled by the hard to see scroll bar that I've created. I can show this off a little better if I scroll to the end, and you should be able to see the scroll bar now. I also have buttons on the side of the scroll bar that make it feel a lot more traditional and just let you adjust it just a little bit. Unfortunately, this is quite rough. For example, the panel doesn't span the area when you scroll, the grid view moves with the scroll bar, and the scroll bar is near impossible to see. But despite these issues, I'm happy with this. I feel like this is good progress and is practical for what I'm currently trying to achieve. With the tile selection area sorted, I can move on to the other tasks in the editor, and I think I'm going to start work on the UI at the top of the screen, getting the file management buttons in place and moving the grid control buttons to the top. So I'll catch up when I have it looking right. I've now got both the file management and grid control buttons where I want them. These work exactly how they did last week, only in a much more accessible area, which is fantastic. I think in the future I'd like to introduce something like a text box or a file selection interface to name saves and loads, but right now that's out of scope. Finally, this week I'm going to look at the task I have for the grid. Now the grid itself doesn't require many changes. It's more like the view that the grid is in needing to be changed. I want to limit the grid from working when the mouse is on the UI. For example, earlier on in the week, the tile selection scroll bar was moving the grid, which is what I want to avoid. So I need to make some changes to my view camera class to fix this. Here we've finished this week's UI changes, and as you can see here I can drag the level around if I click on the grid, but if I click on the UI it refuses to drag. Now unfortunately there are a few places this isn't quite the case. For example, if I click the top edge of the tile selection area, it moves. Another issue that I've noticed is that tiles still get placed down when clicking in the UI areas. This is because it uses a completely different system to work out which tile is being selected than the view camera does to be dragged around. So what I've done is I've collated issues such as this into a Trello task list, and I will eventually get around to them at a later point. I'm very happy with this week's progress. Whilst like I said there are issues, I think this UI fixes many of the previous issues and makes the editor much easier to use. Over the next few weeks I'll introduce a few more features to the editor and fix as many issues as possible. Once that is complete, I will be able to use it to create levels for Project Torrim, which is something I am very excited for. Thank you for watching this devlog for Project Torrim. I'm really enjoying working on this project. Let me know if you're enjoying watching it by clicking the like button and subscribing to keep up to date with the progress on the game. Thank you and goodbye.